Tonight on Reporting Scotland, the short and tragic life of Liam Fee, brutalised and killed by his mother and her partner. Rachel and Naomi Fee had denied killing Rachel's 2-year-old son, blaming his death on another child. Tonight we examine the circumstances surrounding this disturbing case and ask if social work failings contributed to the toddler's death. Good evening. A mother and her partner have been found guilty of murdering her son, Liam Fee. Rachel and Naomi Fee were found guilty of killing the toddler in March 2014. Both women had denied killing the 2-year-old in a house near Glenrothes in Fife. They blamed his death on another child. Our reporter, Lisa Summers, is at the High Court in Livingston for us this evening. Lisa.
Jackie, this has been a harrowing, highly emotional and distressing case. Much of the evidence over the past 7 weeks has been too graphic to report. Some of the tales of cruelty, the psychological, the physical abuse that Rachel and Naomi inflicted on 2 young boys, also the assault and the escalating violence and cruelty against Liam Fee. Well, the jury here at the High Court in Livingston have been deliberating for 3 days now, over around 10 hours, but they finally came back with a verdict of guilty against Naomi and Rachel Fee on all the charges against them. Even as the verdict was read out in court, Rachel and Naomi Fee remained impassive, looking straight in front of them, guilty of a catalogue of horrendous abuse against 2 young boys and the murder of a defenceless and vulnerable young child. It was an escalating pattern of violence against Liam that left him with a broken leg, a fractured arm and ultimately a blow to his small body, so severe it ruptured his heart. Liam's father, Joe, left the court shortly after the verdict. He'd broken down in the public gallery, his head in his hands as he sobbed. Some of those who'd been friends with Rachel and Naomi sat through the latter stages of the trial.
As far as our friendship goes, that's it, it's finished. I can't have my kids growing up knowing that we knew people like that. Monsters, that's all I could really say is, I can't say them, can't even call them parents.
Throughout this long trial, the jury have had to endure some truly awful evidence. Perhaps the worst, a crime scene video from the night that Liam died. The camera tracks round the house and into Liam's bedroom, and the jury see the boy lying lifeless and pale on the floor, dressed in his pyjamas, his left leg bent upwards at an awkward angle. It was so distressing, it left some of the jury members in tears, and they asked the trial judge for a break. The jury were excused by the judge, Lord Burns, from jury service for 10 years. Rachel and Naomi Fee spent most of this long-running trial arriving at court together on bail. Tonight, apart and in custody, they face life in prison when the judge sentences them on the 6th of July. We know that social services were alerted to Liam Fee on several occasions, but they failed to take action. Tonight, the Child Protection Committee in Fife says that it will be carrying out a review into what went wrong. In the meantime, I'm told the 2 boys that Rachel and Naomi Fee were abusing are being properly looked after and they're being given help to deal with everything that they've been through. But my colleague Andrew Anderson has the background to this case.
The death of Liam Fee is one of Scotland's worst child abuse cases. For most of his short life, this toddler suffered at the hands of his mother and her partner. Rachel and Naomi Fee also inflicted a catalogue of abuse on 2 other young boys. One-time friends have been left in disbelief.
You think you know someone, just goes to prove you actually don't know no one. Like, I didn't think in a million years she was capable of any of that stuff. Like, especially towards a baby.
Rachel and Naomi Fee moved from the north of England to this house in Fife early in 2012. Within these walls, they repeatedly assaulted Liam. He died in this bedroom. Doctors found Liam had suffered a ruptured heart from a blow or blows to his body. They also discovered double fractures of his leg and arm. In total, they counted more than 30 injuries. Sean Catherall once regarded Naomi Fee as his best friend. She and Rachel stayed with him a few days after Liam's death. His account is chilling.
There was like no emotion in them. They weren't bothered. They were sort of laughing, joking on. that they were going to get sent to jail for neglect, because they knew they were getting done with neglect anyways, they were saying. But laughing and joking on, like, do you think we'll get the same cell together?
Back in Fife, a major police investigation was underway. Within a bed, a number of objects are hidden, which add to the officers' suspicions. There are cable ties, ropes, and a chain. 5 months after his death, police charged Naomi and Rachel Fee with Liam's murder. They're also accused of a catalogue of abuse against 2 other boys. It was a complex inquiry, say senior officers.
The level of abuse and neglect that's taken place over a prolonged period of time, we wanted to exact out all the details on that. We didn't want to miss some of the additional charges that could be preferred against Rachel and Naomi.
The trial gets underway 2 years after Liam's death. Rachel and Naomi Fee's trial took place here in Court 2 at Livingston. Over the course of several days, the jury watched videotaped interviews with 2 young boys. They'd been in the house the night that Liam died. One of the boys was the child that the Fees blamed for Liam's death. During several interviews, a police officer and a social worker repeatedly reassured him that he wasn't in any trouble as they tried to untangle his story. What also became clear was the terrible abuse the 2 boys had suffered. They spoke of being beaten, locked in a cage built from a fire guard, tied up some nights, forced to take cold showers, and other abuses too appalling to detail. The jury in this trial listened to some of the most harrowing evidence ever to come before a Scottish court. Rachel and Naomi Fee's sustained abuse towards Liam and the other boys has left many shocked and asking how these 2 women could have been so cruel. Andrew Anderson, reporting Scotland.
Well, as we heard, concerns about Liam were raised with the authorities 3 times, and 2 multi-agency meetings were held about the toddler. Yet he remained in the care of the women who would kill him. Could the authorities have done more to save Liam? Our social affairs correspondent Rival Alderson reports.
Concerns were raised about Liam Fee, the little boy who was only 2.5 years old, on a number of occasions. His nursery alerted social workers. Worried by a change in Liam, staff found he had a number of injuries and was losing weight. Liam's childminder had also made her concerns known a few months earlier. Patricia Smith, who used the same childminder, phoned social work after meeting the Fees in the street. Liam was in his buggy. She told the court she didn't know if he was drugged or dead. A senior Fife social worker admitted to the court that at one point Liam fell off their radar. A member of staff had gone off sick, no one else was assigned, and his case wasn't reviewed until further concerns were raised.
The circumstances of supporting families in situations such as this can be complex, and there were a range of agencies involved in supporting Liam and his family, and the details of that will be looked at through the significant case review.
You can't call it anything other than a failure, can you?
I think it's important that we allow the significant case review to consider the circumstances of what's happened with Liam in some detail.
The Scottish Association of Social Workers says bureaucracy and resources are problems. Frontline workers spend more time writing reports than in engaging with children and families, and the work can be relentless and traumatic.
There's only so much you can take, and part of the concerns that we have that currently in the UK, we're talking about 8 years max in terms of the lifespan of a child protection social worker, and that's long. You know, many people leave the profession because they just feel they can't cope with this anymore, because it is relentless.
But whatever the problems, again, we're left asking what more can be done to protect our children. Rival Alderson, reporting Scotland.